Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and in today's episode we're going to be playing some Best of One, and in our Best of One series we're going to be mastering the Erstwhile. Yes, we're going to be playing a black-white Lich's Mastery, Awaken the Erstwhile deck. So, this card is largely unplayable outside of this little list right here. Awaken the Erstwhile says 5 mana, 3 double black, for sorcery speed. Each player discards all the cards in their hand, then creates that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. So, looked at this card before, or when the spoilers came out, and realised that the best way to break this card, it's a pretty simple realisation of course, is that you have to have more cards in your hand than your opponent. But not only that, if it's going to be really good, you're going to have a lethal amount of cards in your hand more than your opponent. So I had to figure out a way to draw loads and loads and loads of cards. The best way to do that is using Lich's Mastery, in my personal opinion. 3 and 3 double black for a legendary enchantment. It has hexproof, so it cannot be targeted. It also says I cannot lose the game, and whenever I gain life, I draw that many cards. So the idea is that we're going to use the life gain power on Lich's Mastery to draw an absurd amount of cards, and then cast Awaken the Erstwhile. So we use things like Revitalize here, which is a 2 mana instant speed, gain 3 life, draw a card, so a nice cantrip to keep us alive in the early game, but once Lich's Mastery is in play, this is actually a 2 mana draw 4 cards. And Ritual of Rejuvenation, which is a 3 mana draw 5 cards when Lich's Mastery comes into play. So some really powerful card draw right there once Mastery is in play. We also have many other life gain synergies as well. We have Moment of Craving for the early game as well to defeat aggro, -2/-2 to a creature and gain 2 life, drawing 2 cards once Mastery is in play. We also have Vraska's Contempt, which allows us to kill creatures and planeswalkers, gaining 2 life as well. Same again. And yeah, that's essentially it. Also, Consume as well. This is our answer to Carnage Tyrant. If we don't have a board wipe, it's insanely good against big creatures as well. Seeing as though Hydroid Crisis is about right now, using Consume on it is just hilarious. 4 mana, target player sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. You gain life equal to its power. Yet again, drawing cards equal to its power. You see the theme here. So the idea is we're going to gain loads of life, we're going to draw loads of cards, we're going to Awaken the Erstwhile, and we're going to win. So, along the way, we have to deal with a few little matchups. So, we are almost guaranteed to win against aggro so long as we draw an adequate amount of our cards. So, we need our land drops on time, and we need some life gain spells and removal, you know. We are going to struggle a little bit against control, but that is where Duress comes into play. We're running 4 copies of this for the control matchup. 1 black, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-creature, non-land card from it, that player discards that card. So this is a way of taking your opponent's counter spell, forcing them to either counter this or let them take your spell or any other more important thing, which then allows us to slap down our more important cards, like Awaken the Erstwhile or something like that. Control, funnily enough, really doesn't like its hand being discarded, so you can use Awaken the Erstwhile in that sense as well, just to empty your opponent's hand. Now, we should bear in mind that not all matchups are going to be a Lich's Mastery matchup. So there are 3 cards that I can think of off the top of my head that would actually destroy us. River's Rebuke, Discovery Dispersal, and Cleansing Nova. Now, if you suspect that your opponent is running any of those 3 cards, do not play Lich's Mastery. Do not do it at all. You can win without Lich's Mastery perfectly fine. It is a little bit harder, but achievable. If it is Dispersal that you are up against, what you can do is you can slap down the Immortal Sun first. The Immortal Sun being a 6 mana legendary artifact, equal to the mana cost of Lich's Mastery. So if they go for the Dispersal to bounce your Mastery, because you've got the 6 mana tied enchantment and artifact here, you get to choose which one gets bounced back to your hand. So obviously you'll pick the Immortal Sun, because that's the one that doesn't lose you the game. Alternatively, you can also play both of your Lich's Masteries, or even the one from the sideboard as well. So if you have 2 of these in play, or you have an Immortal Sun and the Lich's Mastery in play, you can play around Discovery Dispersal in that sense. But if your opponent even has some unknown cards in hand, then you are taking a risk just playing it in the first place, off of the potential that your opponent will top deck a Dispersal and win. So you've really got to bear that in mind. Up until then, though, we're just going to be playing crowd control. We have lots and lots of removal in this deck as well. We've mentioned Moment of Craving for the early game aggro. We've got Mortify for the bigger creatures as well. We also have 4 copies of Kaya's Wrath for the creature matchups. 2 white, 2 black. Destroy all creatures. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you controlled that were destroyed this way. Not really going to come into play the second half there, unless we've already got an Awaken in play, which... likelihood is if we have an Awaken in play, we're already going for our win con, and by wrathing, we're going to kill ourselves. We also have 1 copy of Settler Wreckage as well, just in case destroying creatures in general is not going to be quite good enough. A nice settle out of nowhere can also just ruin somebody's day. 4 mana, exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search the library for that many basic land cards, put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle the library. We're running Kaya's Wrath over Settler Wreckage primarily, because we are a tap-out kind of deck. We don't really want to be holding Settler Wreckages for our opponent to Thought Erasure or counter when they've tapped out. Untap, sorry, or duress them or anything like that. We just want to kill our opponent's stuff and pass the turn. That's basically the idea. The final card that I haven't mentioned as well, the reason why this deck is so good in Best of 1 is because we actually have the sideboard as access. So these 15 cards here are all really powerful cards in certain matchups and in certain situations. So how do we make good use of those in a Best of 1 format? We have Mastermind's Acquisition. Mastermind's Acquisition is a 4-mana sorcery. It allows us to choose one, so we get to search our library for a card, put it into our hand, shuffle our library. So any of these cards in our deck, Mastermind's Acquisition, is basically a 4-mana taxed version of that. So if we want to go find our Lich's Mastery, we can use Mastermind's Acquisition to do that. Probably have to play Mastery the turn after, but that's not too terrible all the same. It basically just adds 4 mana to the price of any of these cards if you want to use them on the same turn. We can also, though, in addition to that, pick a card from outside of the game, which basically means the sideboard, and put it into our hand. Which, if we have our sideboard available to us at the side, which I would highly recommend if you are playing this deck, to have the sideboard out on a little screen or as noted or something like that, because you really want to be able to take note of what is in your sideboard for the Mastermind's Acquisition to find out whether or not you've got some powerful cards in your sideboard. And powerful cards we do have indeed. So let's talk about those a little bit. I'll go into this menu. It's a lot nicer to see pretty much all of them here. What do we have here? Well, we have some alternative win cons. We have Axis of Mortality. If our life total does get below the minuses and we're a little bit worried that we're not really going to keep up, Axis Mortality can exchange life totals with our opponent. And if we're on the minus life totals, then we basically swap them a victory right then and there. We do need Lich's Mastery in play to make that work, but it can also be used to buy us some time as well, because we will not be hitting our opponent at all until we go for lethal. So we can basically use this as a 6 mana, wait a turn, on upkeep, gain 20 life. That's basically what this one is. We also have another copy of Lich's Mastery in here, so we are immune for the most part to Unmoored Ego. If they identify that we're a Lich's Mastery deck and they for some reason are running Unmoored Ego in their main deck, they're not going to be able to hit Lich's Mastery in total. So they can take these two, but they can never take our freedom, because we have Mastermind's Acquisition to go get the third, and we'll follow up with that, and then all the Unmoored Egos in the world don't really matter all that much. Same goes for our win con. We have one Awaken the Erstwhile in our main deck as our main win condition. However, we do have alternative win conditions in the sideboard, including a second copy of Awaken the Erstwhile as well. If that is the ideal situation for us, we go ahead and win with that one. We also have Dawn of Hope, one of my favourite enchantments. 2 mana, whenever you gain life, you can pay 2 to draw a card. Pretty sweet, synergizes with the deck very well. Also, the win con side of it allows us to pay 4 to create a 1/1 white soldier token with lifelink. You only want to grab this one if you don't think your opponent's running enchantment removal. Dawn of Hope can be safe and sound on the board, generating 1/1s, drawing you cards, furthering your game plan. Other win conditions include Josu Ves Lich Knight, which is kind of an underpowered Awaken the Erstwhile. If it does turn out that we have Awakened and we have our board wiped, which is unlikely, because we wouldn't be running this plan if we suspect that our opponent could top deck a board wipe, but sometimes we have to go for it. So if they do top deck their board wipe, and we still have a Mastermind's Acquisition left in our deck, we can go and grab Josu Ves, kick him to make a 4/5 for 4 mana that also creates 8 2/2 black zombie knight creature tokens with menace, which basically means we're swinging for lethal yet again with Josu. Very nice indeed. Other than that, though, we just have some really nice utility cards. Silent Gravestone allows us to stop targeting of the graveyards. 1 mana. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities, so Eldest Reborn, Find Finalities, all of that kind of thing. They cannot touch our graveyards anymore. We can also pay 4 and tap to exile Silent Gravestone and all cards from all graveyards and draw a card. May be relevant. We want to be careful when we do this, though, because Lich's Mastery does use the graveyard as a resource. It's basically our life total at the end of the day. But we probably want to be using Silent Gravestone if we don't already have Lich's Mastery in play. And maybe we're up against something like Golgari midrange. They've got a graveyard full of disgusting stuff. Exile it all, and then we don't have to deal with it ever again. Sorcerer's Spyglass against Planeswalkers and utility lands as well. 2 mana. Enters the battlefield, you get to look at an opponent's hand, then choose any card name, and the activated abilities of sources with a chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So we can turn off Search for Azcanta, we can turn off things like Profane Procession, I guess, is also an option. We can turn off Planeswalkers, because activating their loyalty abilities is an activated ability. Anything that really annoys us, this is basically a catch-all for that kind of thing. Profane Possession, as we mentioned, is here just to catch a lot of creatures as well. It's a removal spell that can't be countered, so there are annoying things like Mono Blue Tempo, which we'd have to be going into the late game anyway for that to really matter in that particular matchup. But a 3 mana legendary enchantment that sits around and can pay 5 mana to exile a creature, and if there are 3 or more creatures exiled with Profane Possession, we get to transform it, and then on the other side we can actually put creature cards exiled onto the battlefield under our control. So we could use this as a win con. It's not likely to happen. It's mostly here as a nice little removal spell for the most part, but something to keep in mind there. It is also an extra win condition. 2 copies of Ixalan's Binding, just to hit any problem cards our opponent may have. If we maybe identify that our opponent's deck is a build-around kind of deck, so they're building around Mirror March or something like that. Mastermind's Acquisition for Ixalan's Binding. Slap that on Mirror March, we don't have to deal with that card ever again. Same goes for Planeswalkers, any creature we don't like. Hydroid Krasis is a really good option actually for Ixalan's Binding, because not only can they not recast the Hydroid Krasis, but even if they removed Ixalan's Binding, they don't actually get anything back, because Hydroid Krasis comes back as a 0/0 and dies immediately, so it's pretty good for hitting that kind of thing. But you can hit Rat Colonies, Persistent Petitioners. I actually did win a game by doing that, by turn 5, Ixalan's Binding a Petitioner, and they didn't scoop because they were playing the mill game, and then I dropped Lich's Mastery and then they scooped because we can't die to milling, so that's pretty cool. Shalai allows us to stop getting targeted by aggro decks, lots of burn and stuff like that, forces them to target Shalai. It's just there if it's useful. If it's not, then so what. Phyrexian Scriptures as another board wipe, but also an all exile for our opponent's graveyards as well, so yet again the Sultai mid-range, the Golgari mid-range matchups, exile their graveyard, do your thing. Fall of the Thran as well, we can use this against a control matchup, so float all of our mana when we want to go for our Awaken the Erstwhile win. We go for the Fall of the Thran. If they counter it, then hopefully they don't have any more counters and we can drop down Awaken the Erstwhile. But if it resolves, we destroy all the lands. We then have mana floating to cast Awaken the Erstwhile, and we swing over that way as well. And the worst case scenario, our opponent gets back 4 lands in total, and that's not really good for a control matchup. That's pretty backbreaking. And we also have Ethereal Absolution, kills the creature tokens, pumps our zombie tokens as well. If we have to do for a balanced Awaken the Erstwhile, then we can unbalance it with Ethereal Absolution. 6 mana, our creatures get +1/+1, our opponents get -1/-1, so we get 3/3s, they get 1/1s. We can also use this as Graveyard Hate as well, which will also create spirit tokens, which we can use to win the game later on. And finally, a second copy of the Immortal Sun, just to hit the Planeswalkers, mostly because in the Golgari matchups they do have Big Vraska and Vivian who can hit stuff like that as well. Of course, they can't use the Planeswalkers to kill the Immortal Sun, but if they do manage to Assassin's Trophy the Immortal Sun, then we want to be able to go back and get one to shut them off again. So that's essentially the deck anyway, guys. I hope you enjoy. We're going to go in for a few matches, and yeah, if you enjoy, be sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the games. Okay, we got 2 lands and plenty of early game aggro protection and some late game stuff. Pretty good indeed. What are we up against? Let's find out, shall we? A red deck. Alright, so we win as long as we hit our land drops consistently. And we're not silly about this game. Red decks typically can't beat us. Nor can red-black decks. Now, if it was Grixis, maybe we have something to worry about. So they're going to 3 us, we're going to gain 3. And it looks like we're going to duress them to take a burn spell and then hold up Moment of Craving to kill a creature. Holy Christ on a biscuit. Let's, maybe take Carnage? I don't know. I don't like my hand being disrupted. It's not fun for anyone. We could also take the light up the stages, but he's going to get one regardless. I'm just going to take his carnival thing. And pass. We have a target now for Consecrate so that we can cantrip if we really want to. I'm assuming this is just going to be... well... yeah. Land and Acrobat. Go for it. Okay. I'm a little afraid of not drawing what I need, and this Moment of Craving is not going to kill that Acrobat, so let's just cantrip and just try to draw a land, thank God. That means Vraska's Contempt is a nice option here. So we want to go for Lich's Mastery in this matchup, but I don't want to go for it just yet in case they draw something like a Drill Bit or a Duress. So we're just going to hold the Mastermind's Acquisition for now and pull for it at the last minute, really. Acrobats. Does this thing lower its toughness? Oh, it does. So if they actually went for that, then we could Moment of Craving in response, and the likelihood is that they end up doing that. So yeah, it's just going to be land and pass, and then watch them get greedy, I guess. It's not going to trigger Spectacle for them, I'll tell you that much. We know they've got a 1-mana instant spell in their hand. So it's no secret to anyone. I guess they're hoping if we play... oh, that's rude. Okay, we'll discard Mortify and Contempt. Because we're going to get value off this Craving anyway. Light up the stage. Not even going to swing in first. I see how it is. Alright, fair enough. Contempt. And there's our land. So we've got the 6 mana now. We can go with the Mastermind's Acquisition. We do have a Lich's Mastery in the sideboard, but because we don't want to draw a second one, we're going to go grab the Mastery out of our main instead. And all we have to do is basically fade a discard spell. Another Carnage would be unfortunate. Lightning Strike. Get all of this out of your system, opponent. Oh, the more they do this, the better it is for us. Just so long as they don't kill us. And now we just drop Lich's Mastery. We need a target for Moment of Craving so that we can start gaining life and drawing cards, but we do have a buffer of 7 here. So what would normally kill us is now our graveyard in terms of life total. And... ooh, Duress. Okay, we'll Duress them now. Take Lava Coil. This is a dead card, really. It was never going to hit anything. I want them to play a creature, though, so we can Moment of Craving, gaining 2 life, drawing 2 cards. Even if it doesn't kill it, I'm going to do that. Because it's an extra card in my graveyard that I can exile if I take damage, which is almost guaranteed. And it'll draw me into more life gain, which will fill my hand up like crazy. Land and Chupacabra. Alright, there's our Craving target. Yeah, they basically have to chain burn spells together so that we have no graveyard left, have no hand left, and then we have to start sacking lands so that we can't play anything we drew anyway. But that's basically not going to happen because we're just going to 2 mana draw 4 cards. And then another 2 mana draw 4 cards. And it's just a matter of finding Awaken the Erstwhile now. Ooh, Immortal Sun. That's pretty cool. Our opponent's had enough, as you might expect. Wunderbar. Alright, so we're in, and we're on the draw. We've kind of got 2 cards we don't really want to see right now, but I think the rest of it's fine. Like, we've got some early game removal. We need 2 land drops, but we've got reasonable balance of mana here to maybe get Kaya's Wrath on turns 4 as well. So, yeah, we'll take this. What are we up against? A white deck. Into Legion's Landing, so probably the Boros aggro list, most likely. Should be a reasonable matchup for us if we can get to this Kaya's Wrath in time. And by reasonable, probably already won if we can get to this Kaya's Wrath in time. So, a Pride Mate, eh? More reason to make our land drops. We kind of missed one there, so we need to top deck a land next time. We also have a Consecrate as well. We just need a target for it, so I need my opponent to play something that would go into the graveyard, really, so that we can target something. Not a problem that you usually deal with very often, but here we are. And yep, we missed our land drop. Okay, so let's just dump Awaken the Erstwhile. Got another one in a sideboard if we want to go that plan. But yeah, we're probably just going to lose now. Now we have a target as well, because we discarded to hand size. Whoopee. Oh boy. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, dead next turn. Wicked. Oh, because we missed a land drop. If we hadn't missed a land drop and we'd have got our 4th in time, then we'd probably win this one. Because Kaya's Wrath would wipe and then we basically just draw removal from that point forward, as well as life gain. We stabilize really easily. And yeah, there's the extra land. How unfortunate. Yeah, imagine if we got the land there, and then we drew that land now, then we'd have our Kaya's Wrath online, we'd wipe this at 1. Crazy, I know, but yeah, well, it's not gonna happen. Alright, well, next game. Okay, we're in, and we're on the play. Yeah, we can take this hand. We don't do anything until turn 3, so we're going to need to top deck a land, but I think we should be just fine. If our opponent puts anything in their graveyard, we activate our Consecrate cantrip. Miss our lands. Not the greatest thing in the world. I don't know what my opponent in white could really put in their graveyard at this point, other than land Revitalize. I don't really want to see Revitalize from my opponent, though, because that gives me all sorts of the heebie-jeebies when it comes to, oh god, the type of deck that they'd be playing. It's usually control, for the most part. So, Tocatli Honor Guard is a dead card against us. It doesn't do anything. History of Benalia, on the other hand, quite effective. So, again, I need my lands. There we go. Alright, so we are probably going to shock this one in. And I'm thinking that I mortify the History of Benalia. It's both a kill of a 2/2 and also kill a pump spell as well. The alternative is I just ritual through all of the damage and then hope to draw a board wipe. But I think just killing the Benalia now is probably for the best. And we'll use the rituals from this point forward to just clean up the board. It also encourages our opponent to play a little bit more out of their hand. Honor Guard's not fantastic for us, but we do have exile effects for that. And board wipes for the Knight of Grace. We also have a Settle the Wreckage in our deck as well that we can use to take care of this. Right, so right now Consume is a choice between the Knight of Grace and the token for our opponent, which is not good for us. So we might actually just shock in the Godless Shrine to contempt the Vanguard. Alternatively, We could tap land Godless Shrine, either Ritual or Mortify, depending on the situation. I guess this is kind of the flexible one. It makes us take a little less damage, and if the Mortify hits something like Aurelia, we're going to be okay with that. Then we can contempt the Vanguard the following turn once we've untapped. Weirdly playing around the Settle that does not exist at this mana cost. That's fair enough. Well, in that case, I'm probably just going to mortify this token here to take a little bit less damage. So, let's analyze whether or not this is a good Lich's Mastery matchup. Our opponent is in white, so theoretically, there is a chance that they could play Cleansing Nova. The odds of that actually being the case, though, in a Boros aggro list seem pretty slim to me, so I'm not really worried about playing the Lich's Mastery onto this board. So we want to use our life total as close to the bone as possible. Just exiling creatures, gaining life until we can't do it anymore, then slap down Lich's Mastery. And carry our graveyard to victory, essentially. Currently, there's only 3 in there right now, so it would be unwise, let's say, to not use our life gain effects to actually have an extra resource in our life total here. So now we could use Consume to force our opponent to sacrifice Knight of Grace. I think that's a good play. It's not targetable by black spells, so it's going to be pretty difficult to deal with otherwise. And we'll just play the land. We're a land off of Lich's Mastery now, but I'm torn between holding these rituals for now, because we don't actually have our Reliquary Tower, so all of the drawing that I'd be doing here wouldn't do me a great deal of good. So we're going to ritual here. I'm going to use at least one. Now we have a Reliquary Tower. So that's the 3 black we need for Lich's Mastery. Yeah, we're going to slap down Lich's Mastery next turn, I think. So, opponent, give me your biggest hit. Ow. How rough that was. Okay. Well, maybe we'll wait a little longer. I only need one of these, really. This is 3 mana draw 5 once Lich's Mastery is out, so I'm in no rush. I need them to commit more to this board, really. This is as far from worrying as it could possibly be. That's annoying, I'll be honest. Yeah, let's just ritual a little bit more. We've got Duress, so we could find out if our opponent has any burn spells in their hand. A worthy check, I suppose. It's all lava coils. Wow. Our hand is pretty bad. So if we play Lich's Mastery now, we got 7 in our graveyard. We're taking 4, 5. Maybe 6, 7, 8 with a lightning strike off the top. But we've got plenty of our hand that we can discard. And we've got like detection towers and things like that that we don't really need. So we can get rid of some lands as well. We have no max hand size now. So these 3 mana draw 5s are going to be very, very good. And we just basically have to wait for something like a Vraska's Contempt on the Phoenix to deal with that. Or just essentially find our win con now. Whichever comes first. One leads to the other as well. Alright, so exile, 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 get rid. Got 2 cards in our graveyard, so a lightning strike only makes me exile 1 card here, which is probably going to be the, well, probably the other Lich's Mastery. Now that it's down, it's pretty much going to stay there. Honor Guard, okay. So let's tap our colorless. So we have variety in our mana. And draw 5 cards. There's Vraska's Contempt, so we can contempt the Rekindling Phoenix. Draw 2 cards. Bomp, bomp, bomp. And yeah, let's make a land drop, I guess. More land drops means more spells to be cast per turn. We could Mastermind's Acquisition for another ritual. Take 2. Exile 2 of our 4 cards in our graveyard. Short of our opponent doing like a huge Bane Fire or something like that, I'm finding it difficult to see how they'd win this one. We could even just go straight for the Awaken the Erstwhile, but I'm going to be greedy and keep going because it's fun. Alright, so let's just go into our deck, grab... Now we've actually used all of our rituals. So let's use a Revitalize instead. It's a 2-mana draw 4. Revitalize. 1. Gain 3. Pretty sweet. And... yeah, Godless Shrine tapped. Pass the turn, use Moment of Craving to draw some cards and negate some damage. We're playing with our food at this point. Resplendent Angel. Alright. So that turns Consume into a 4-mana draw 3. Oh, there's a Revitalize. Wonderful. We lose 1 life, which is a 1 card. I'm glad our opponent's playing this out. This game could have been over ages ago. Alright, let's draw 4 cards. An Immortal Sun. Okay. Moment of Craving. Yeah, let's draw 3 cards. Revitalize. Okay, play Revitalize. Draw 4 cards. 17 cards left in our deck. Play Reliquary Tower just in case they have a Field of Ruin. And we should be on Awaken the Erstwhile in no time at all. I mean, we have our Mastermind's Acquisition. We could go grab it anyway, so... take you out. Draw 2. Lose 1. Exile a graveyard. Boop. We also have alternative win cons as well in the sideboard, should we need them. Settle the Wreckage is hilarious. Alright, so let's gain 2. Duress, don't want that. Alright then. Masterminds into the... let's go to the sideboard to grab our Awaken. Where are you? Awaken the Erstwhile. And pass the turn. Next turn we will Awaken. On a relatively clean board. So, Moment of Craving, draw 2 cards, take 1, discard the Moment of Craving. Boop. Alright. So, it works out to Vraska's Contempt this creature here, because I end up drawing extra cards from that. And then Awaken the Erstwhile. Discard our hands. I have 25 tokens, you have 3. Good luck. You have to deal me, what, at least 36 damage, plus all of my lands and tokens, or wipe the board right now. If you wipe the board right now, we have 4 cards, which, one of them is Awaken the Erstwhile. So we can kind of rebuild, but I don't think we win off of that. Shall I? Okay. We basically just have to fade 1 good top deck, and 1 good top deck we have faded. Swing. Your move, Kaiba. Yep. That's still 20 tokens coming at you. Alright. Wicked. Wicked. Let's go for another one. Alright then, we're in. And we're on the draw. We don't have any good removal right now, but I suppose we can wait until turn 3. That's not too bad. We're not going to be firing off the turn 1 duress anyway, because if it is a control matchup, we're going to want this for later to resolve any of our other stuff. So we'll have to just see what it is. It's a green deck, so duress isn't likely to be that powerful anyway. If it's green-red, then maybe we can take like Rhythm of the Wild, so we'd have to deal with hasty creatures. The non-counterable part is not terribly important. And honestly, we don't really have anything better to do right now as this hand stands. Incubation Druid, eh? Well, that seems like a good idea for a duress then. Let's see what you're working your way into. Hello. Oh, we memeing, boys. We memeing. Mostly as a creature deck, we don't really have to worry about any of this stuff. So, let's just take Simic Ascendancy. And worry about Zagana next turn, I guess. Then again, no counters means it's just a 4 mana. So, yeah, just a 4 mana 4/4. Opponent likely to just go with that Shark to grab. Good old Shark to grab. Okay. I think I'm going to upkeep kill the Incubation Druid. I might as well just do it now, honestly. I don't want to let him have the 4 mana if he doesn't have a land, and I also don't want him to let him go land into adapt his Incubation Druid either. We just don't want any of that mess. He can do Shark to Crab, and then we'll consume it when it becomes a little bit bigger than it is. Sweet. So now we've got a 4 mana, kill a Shark to Crab, gain 5 life. Pretty good. Cool. And we're well on our way to Lich's Mastery as well, already. Who'd have thunk it? Hadana's Climb, okay. Right, so what do I want with Mastermind's Acquisition? I'm torn between just going with the Lich's Mastery plan, and in which case I probably just want to grab a life gain spell with Acquisition. We could grab Vraska's Contempt so that the next creature he puts a counter on doesn't really matter. Yeah, we'll do that. Because he's going to make a big dude. We could also take Consume, actually, now that I think about it. Because he's going to turn Zagana into an 8/8. We can gain 8 life off of that. Have I just lost my mind? There it is, yeah. No matter what, it looks like Consume's going to hit a big thing. Vivian Reed. Yeah, we don't care about that.
Neat. I've lost so much already.
That's actually kind of ideal in a sense as well. Mostly because it just buys us time to consume without actually getting hit by anything. So let's just Lich's Mastery. The only thing we have to worry about in this matchup as far as Mastery is concerned is like River's Rebuke or our opponent actually being Sultai and then running Dispersal.
Come to me.
Other than that, we don't really have to worry about anything. Our opponent's creatures aren't going to be a problem, really, because we can consume and make them sacrifice that way. I kind of want my opponent to hit twice here, so... Sweet. Now we've got a 4 mana, gain 4, draw 4 with Consume, if we want it. It's actually even more than that now. It's actually a 5. Sweet. And Summoning Sickness, but my opponent's forgotten about that. Alright. Sack a creature, draw 5 cards. They have flipped the temple though, so any haste is going to be awkward, to say the least. And now we've got a ritual in here as well. We can draw 5 on end turn. And now we have the Vraska's Contempt as well, so even if they did somehow manage to get Vivian Reed to ultimate and oh, Frilled Mystic, that's kind of problematic. Okay. Alright. Well, let's Ritual now. If they want to use the Frilled Mystic to counter this, because we are going to draw 5 cards, then we get the guaranteed Vraska's Contempt. But now we have double Contempt, so really we're just laughing. Laughing all the way home. Kill Vivian Reed, gets countered. Yeah. Let it happen. And we definitely do want to do this, don't we? I don't really want to deal with Indestructible, although most of my exile spells, or most of my removal spells are exile based. I still just don't want to deal with it. So let's get rid of that. Draw 2. We're going to take a big hit, most likely. Taking, what, 8? Which is most of this. 9, 10, 11 from the Frilled Mystic. So we're going to have to discard some of the cards in our hand, but we have a Kaya's Wrath to follow up with anyway. So they can pay the 3 plus the Winged Temple here to hit us for a hell of a lot. Yeah. So we have to discard 11, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Worthwhile in the efforts of victory. Kaya's Wrath, kill everything. Play a Reliquary Tower. Draw 5 cards. Ooh, the Immortal Sun. Draw 4 cards. Another Lich's Mastery. So you can scoop whenever you feel like it, opponent. They're not entirely out of this game, though. If they get a, like, Frilled Mystic on time or something like that, then they've kind of got some game. Let's see. Let me quickly make the game code quiet to bring up my sideboard. So what we've got in our sideboard is Josu Ves as an option. We've also got Profane Procession. We are going to go with the Awaken the Erstwhile plan anyway, so not too much to worry about there. That's likely to be our plan. So let's make our land drop. It's just we've got this Mastermind's acquisition here. Also with the Immortal Sun as well, though, is pretty cool. We could go with the Immortal Sun. And then just mortify its Growth Chamber Guardian when he goes to adapt it. This means any tokens we make are going to be 3/3s to his 2/2s, and maybe we get him to play a Frilled Mystic here to counter this. So it doesn't really matter to us all that much. Okay, and everything's cheaper now, so we have 4 mana open. Cool. So these mortifiers are now 2 mana. There he goes with his adapting. So we're going to kill that now. And we still have another Mortify open. If our opponent forgets that cost reduction on the Immortal Sun is a thing, then maybe they won't play around Mortify again. But at this point, they've kind of got to commit to everything they've got. Growth Spiral. I was really hoping they'd hit a land, honestly. Less cards in their hand, the better. And they've got a Tatyova. Okay, so we're just going to Mortify that now. I don't think we have too much to worry about in terms of our opponent's top decks. Syncopate X1, sure. Ooh, Revitalize. So we're actually going to take this for all it's worth, because we can. We're going to use the Revitalize for 1 mana. Because I want to do Awaken the Erstwhile for as much as humanly possible here, I think. Let's just do Vraska's Contempt. 1, 2, 3. We're going to be slightly too short. We haven't made our land drop yet, so let's play the Swamp. 1, 2. Actually, it's not that. It's this to Vraska's Contempt. Then Awaken is 4 mana. And yeah, okay, we can do this. Vraska's Contempt on Tatyova. Draw 2. Oh, Revitalize. Mastermind's Acquisition. Go to our sideboard. Get Awaken the Erstwhile. And play Awaken the Erstwhile. Discarding our entire hand. Opponent does the same. We get 15 3/3s. Our opponent gets 2 2/2s. Top deck. It's a land. And we win. We only have to worry about the top deck. It's the fun part. Ooh, he's swinging. He's swinging. He's swinging. Alright, that'll do. That's fine. He just wants to pick off some of my stuff while he's at it. I really love the fun combo with Awaken and Lich's Mastery though, because once you've discarded it, now we've got 23 cards in our graveyard, so even if they had a pretty good swing back, it just doesn't really matter. Just go right through them. And take every hit we got. Alright. 14 3/3s. Minus 22. Yay! Gotta love Awaken the Erstwhile. It's such a bad card. It's so good here though. So good here. Alright. Alright, we're in. And this hand is probably not keepable. It has too many 4-drops, and even one of them is not castable on turn 4 because of the Reliquary Tower, so we're going to mulligan this one. There are better hands. This isn't exactly one of them, but it's not the worst. Having a Scry as well. Yeah, we'll take a Ritual. You never know. Life gain might be relevant. So let's just do Godless Shrine tapped. We're not going to duress them. Unless they're blue-black, I probably won't regret that. Yeah. I think it's the Sultai mid-range list. We could take a Vivian or something from them here. I guess we'll have a look. We'll see what we're working with, so we know what to play around. Yeah, fine Finality. It is a good hit, actually. It was very close. We almost completely whiffed on that one. And leading off with the Midnight Reaper. Okay. So, we're not going to do much with the Midnight Reaper here. We don't really care all that much. So, just let them do their thing, and we'll Ritual on end step. Wild Growth Walker. I might care a little about that. Have they got Llanowar Elves as well? Or are they just tap landing? I don't care enough. I really want to hit Midnight Reaper with the Contempt first, I think. And Mastermind's Acquisition. Okay. Well, it's past the turn. Our opponent's hand isn't that amazing right now, which is good for us. And that says to me they've got no Explore creatures, so I'm really in no rush to kill Wild Growth Walker. I'd rather kill the Midnight Reaper first, which just allows me to not give them any value on any kills that I give to them. Double white anytime this year would be nice. Vivian Reed, just in time. Okay, so acquisition.
While you can't stop nature.
We could go get Immortal Sun at some point, but I think acquisition for now has to actually go and grab me another Vraska's Contempt just to deal with this mess. They're going to get like 2 extra hits off of this, unfortunately, but it is what it is. We do have an Immortal Sun in our main deck. Let's see. Vraska's Contempt. There's one Immortal Sun in our main deck for this kind of situation, and one in our sideboard as well, just in case.
I've seen things that would break someone like you.
Because oftentimes, like matchups like this, you can lock off a Planeswalker, and then they'll play the other Planeswalker, Big Vraska, in this case. Oh boy. So that's a Carnage Tyrant that we have to worry about. What I'd like is another white source, so Kaya's Wrath is online. Consume. Is exactly why that card exists in this deck. That is our answer to Carnage Tyrant. Yeah, unfortunately they have the 2 Memorial to Follies, so they can just go back and grab them whenever they want. So if I draw a white source, I will Kaya's Wrath, because it just cleans up the most things in one go. And then they'll probably Memorial back Carnage Tyrant or something like that. They can play their entire mana here to do it. Are they playing around a board wipe or something? Well, Well, I'm going to revitalize here, because I do need to make my land drop. And that allows me to hold up and mortify if I want it. Do I want it? I'm at 20, so I could happily shock in Godless Shrine. We're only taking, what, 5, maybe 7 this turn. I don't really care about that all that much. I'll just hold up on my other Revitalize, I think. No, sorry, I won't. I'll just hold up in my Moment of Craving. For some reason, I thought this was a white source. I was kind of tunnel vision, so I'm using my peripherals. Got nothing in the graveyard for Memorial. They will by the end of this turn, but if they want to use a Memorial on a wild Murphy Branchwalker, go for it. Alright. Going down to our starting life total. Land into Lich's Mastery now is probably the ideal situation. Wow, they're actually going for it. That cuts them off of Carnage Tyrant unless they hit a land here with Branchwalker, which they didn't. And they dump the Walker and hit a land drop. Okay, so they do actually have the mana for Carnage Tyrant here. So we could lead off with Kaya's Wrath, or I could just Revitalize. I think I'll just Revitalize. They're playing around a board wipe right now, and I'm at 20, so I can afford to use my life total as a resource here to encourage them to add a little bit more to the board, and if they choose not to, then there's no harm done, really. Yeah, we can just Revitalize, gain some life, get on with our lives. Duress is actually really nice here as well. That allows us to go and check if they've got a Find Finality, which up until this point they haven't really had a good use for. And just Vraska's Contempts. They are dead cards, unfortunately. I guess they could use them to gain life themselves if they really cared. Yeah, just land go. As soon as we find Lich's Mastery, the game is probably over. There's also value in keeping this Walker around, gaining some counters and things like that, because we can consume post-Mastery if we really want to. And they just pass. There's Moment of Craving, so we can kill Branchwalker again. So we start taking 3 a turn, which is fine. We do want to think a little bit about preserving our life total, because we are a little low at the moment, but not low enough that we can't do this over and over again. Like, I've got this Mortify I can use on Wildgrowth Walker whenever I feel uncomfortable, which is not right now. Save Consume for Carnage Tyrant. And if they drop it down here, then we will probably just Kaya's Wrath. There's a Walker. Okay. Yep, pass. More lands. Okay. Land go. I think we use Mortify on Walker here. Consume isn't exactly like Eldest Reborn in that they can play another creature to protect Carnage Tyrant. Carnage Tyrant is always going to be the consume hit here. Unless it's a Walker, and in which case that is just a far worse target anyway, so we're happy to have that happen. So let's just kill the Wildgrowth Walker and get rid of some Branchwalker value. We can also use Consecrate as well, in response to the Memorial trigger to exile the creature that they target. But I really just want the Carnage Tyrant value. Alright. Midnight Reaper. Taken 2. Come on, Lich's Mastery. Ritual. Okay. Game 4, draw a card. More lands! Ah! Why? We've got, let's see, 2 Mastermind's Acquisitions and 2 Lich's Masteries. So I mean the odds aren't like insane that we actually get what we want, but they're not as bad as the deck is making it out to be. So we are going to rough the board here. Unfortunately they had the Midnight Reaper, so they get to draw some cards here. And we just hold our Consume. See if they drop down a Carnage Tyrant. I don't know why they're afraid to use it, other than, like, waiting on a board wipe. Yeah, waiting on a board wipe so that they can slap it down post-wipe. So they're kind of hoping we don't have an answer to this, but we've been holding it for ever. Ooh, so Lich's Mastery. We could play Lich's Mastery now, take 7, exile 7 cards, consume, draw 7. I think that's worthwhile. We're a land short, all of that flooding, and we're still a land short of doing this and consume in the same turn. How unfortunate. There's also another alternative as well, that we wait another turn, let them deal 7 damage here, and use this 12 life as a resource. But then they follow up with extra creatures, and if it's too much for our graveyard, then we're in trouble. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to plant it now. Okay, so start exiling the graveyard. Doesn't matter what cards we exile, we have no graveyard synergy whatsoever. Other than Lich's Mastery exiling the cards. That is literally it. So unless they have a negate, they're gonna lose here. Golgari Finebroker. What are you gonna get? Midnight Reaper? Yeah, okay. And play Midnight Reaper. We're still gonna consume and draw 7 cards. We're gonna fill our hand up entirely with answers and then probably follow up with a board wipe, most likely. Reliquary Tower is the perfect draw, honestly. Alright, so you exile or sacrifice your Carnage Tyrant. You get to draw a card, but I get to draw 7. Whee! Vraska's Contempt, Immortal Sun. We could play the Immortal Sun. We are taking 6. We got 7 cards in our yard. This could just eat a... there's not much this can really eat. I guess, like, Assassin's Trophy. Occasionally a Hostage Taker is a thing, but we have a Mortify and they can't cast Immortal Sun in time, so... We take 6 here. And exile 6 of our 7 cards in our graveyard. Okay. Llanowar Elves. I could do with a board wipe, honestly. Board wipe would be nice. It's not the end of the world. We're going to Contempt, draw 2. We've got Immortal Sun that's drawing as an extra card. The draw for the turn as well. So we should see a lot of cards here. 28 left. Ooh, a Find is kind of unfortunate. Means they've got the Carnage Tyrant as a follow-up. We used our Consumes, both of them. We used one. We didn't use the other, so if they play Carnage Tyrant, that's another draw 7. That's not too bad. So let's do colorless 2. Killed Midnight Reaper. Draw 2 cards. Yeah, we can Mastermind's Acquisition for the other Consume. Alternatively, just get a board wipe. That's also an option. Moment of Craving. Llanowar Elves, draw 2. Only thing we really have to worry about at this point in time is our opponent for some reason running Discovery Dispersal or River's Rebuke. On the off chance that they're running a Rogue Brew with they just fancied playing those cards, we have nothing really to worry about. Let's see, any more life gain? Just Mortifies and board wipes. Okay, so just wipe the board. And I think we just play a Plane, so we have a Mortify open. On the off chance that we need to actually kill something. But 18 cards, we're going to Masterminds for Consume if they play Carnage Tyrant. Chupacabra, not too bothered about that. You can just use a Mortify on that. Llanowar Elves, also don't care. So, no Carnage Tyrant. They don't want us drawing 7 cards. I wouldn't want me either. Alright, so that's pretty good. Draw an extra card. Duress and a land. That's pretty bad, honestly, but I can take it. I can handle it. Duress. Vraska's Contempt. So they've got a Hydroid Crisis there. Also, again, they don't want us consuming it. Let's see if we have any more rituals left. 1 ritual. 2 rituals. So we could masterminds for a ritual, draw 5. That'll probably get us what we need. We could literally tutor for what we need, honestly, but this way just is more overkill and I love it. There's also a ritual of Sut, I suppose, to worry about as well. If they do have that after we awaken the Erstwhile, then we do lose to that somewhat. Unless we just hold all of our removal in hand and then tactically use it to kill our opponent's stuff until they deck themselves, because we, of course, cannot die to decking. So, yeah, I'll take one here. And just exile a card from my graveyard. I'm not going to use premium removal like Mortify on a 1/1. I'll just use my graveyard as a resource instead. Wild Growth Walker. And it looks like they're going to go for the Explore plan. Digging. Land. Okay. Uh-huh. We can kill you with 39 life. Easy. Let's just upkeep. There's Mastermind's Acquisition. So we could Kaya's Wrath. Kill everything. Masterminds into... let's see. We do have Ethereal Absolution, but I think it's a little bit gimmicky against a deck like this. The Explore creatures are about the only thing it hits, so I would never really do that against Sultai. Other than that, yeah, I guess we just go and we meme some more. Let's keep memeing. We got Revitalize. Let's draw 4 cards. 7 cards left in our deck. Good times. There's Awaken the Erstwhile. Awaken the Erstwhile. Make you discard the entire hand that you've been holding on to for all this time. You get 5 2/2s, I get 17 3/3s. You need a Ritual of Sut, or you are dead. That scared the crap out of me. I saw a black card. I thought I was dead. Not gonna lie. Jesus Christ. Alright. So yeah, we can't die to decking because Lich's Mastery says we can't lose the game as long as Lich's Mastery is in play. So even if we were to draw down to 0 cards, we can't lose in that regard. So the extra draw off the Immortal Sun here means nothing to me. We can even send a message by consuming one of our opponent's Erstwhile tokens. They look quite cool. I like them. Drawing our final card, which is Duress. And swinging with 16 3/3s. Jumps. Very, 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 very dead. -7. Not bad. Not bad at all. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this particular spicy little brew. I thoroughly enjoyed playing this one, and I'm probably going to keep playing it, probably in ranked as well. It's not terrible against the aggro matchups as well, so if it becomes heavy aggro, this deck actually does pretty well, so some nice, wonderful, semi-viable jank for you. Anyway guys, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a great deal and lets me know that you want to see content like this in the future. Share the video around if you know somebody who might enjoy it as well. And other than that guys, I will be back later on for some more Magic Arena action. Alright guys, see you next time.